Welcome back to another episode with PixMWeb. Today I'm going to talk about how to make your website blazing fast. The reason why this is important, you don't want your website visitors to be frustrated when trying to visit your website. Also, people tend to visit often on smartphones, which have slower data connections than Wi-Fi. And since Google now considers page load speed to be a ranking factor for your SEO efforts, you kind of want your page to load fast. You don't want your users to be, upset because your page doesn't load, and you want to get as much, out of your SEO efforts as possible so you can rank well within the search engines. So what can you do? First thing I recommend, visit our website, tools.pingdom.com. Put in your URL here, choose a testing server. It'll give you your results. I have a tutorial on how to use this and how to analyze it in another video, and I'll leave a link to that down below. But definitely use it. It's free to use. It analyzes the bottlenecks and all the resources on your website being requested and gives you some good details on what you can fix. Another option is GT Metrics. It also analyzes your website, gives you a full report, and lets you know what are the main issues that's slowing down your website. So information is key. So you want to gather as much information as possible early on. Another one is tinyjpeg.com. This website is awesome because what it does is it takes the images that you want to use on your website, you upload it here first, and then it reduces the file size of that image. Now, why is that important? Well, pictures take up the most space on a server, and also one of the biggest delays of a page being loaded in a browser, because the larger a picture is, slower it's going to be viewed in the browser. So how to use it? Easily, just click on it, click on the button there, you choose an image, you open it, it's going to process the image, and then once it's done, you'll see it's brought down to a reasonable size. Now this image is 4.5 megabytes, down to 329 kilobytes, a 93% reduction in your total file size of that image. Now that's awesome because that's going to load a lot faster in your browser than this. The next thing you should do is choose a couple of plugins. The ones I recommend are Insanity, which sets a maximum width and height of an image when you upload it. So this will definitely help reduce the file size, if the images are too large in terms of pixel density. EWWW Image Optimizer is another great one. It also reduces file size and removes unnecessary data that's inside the images that take up space. And WP Smush is another great, very popular plugin to use if you're using WordPress. It improves the page load speed because it reduces the file size significantly. Now, if you have multiple images rendered in the browser but not viewed, then you may want to use a plugin like Lazy Load. What this does is prevents the deferring of your page load because of too many image assets. Loads the image that's being viewed in the display, and then when a person scrolls, it'll load the subsequent images. So it's a very good plugin because it saves you on server bandwidth, it page load time, improves your page load times. It does a lot of great things. It's also developed by the WordPress.com VIP team, so it has a good set of developers behind it. Definitely recommend it. Then you want to see what plugins are, using the most resources and slowing down your site. Plugins use additional JavaScript files, CSS files, make other database query requests. So you want to see which plugins are causing the performance of your website to be slow. So you analyze it with this plugin here, determine what those are, and then you get rid of the ones you don't really need that is causing a bottleneck. Then once you're done fully analyzing all the plugins, then you eliminate this plugin. Then you got to cache your website. Obviously you heard about this plenty of times if you have been using WordPress or a website for a while. You want to cache your assets and your website. So there are 3 plugins that I recommend. First one's the easiest, WP Fastest Cache. Very popular. Second one is more intermediate for a little bit more features, WP Super Cache, also by the team at Automatic, also very popular. And then the more robust one that's a little bit more complicated but has a lot of great features, W3 Total Cache. These 3 plugins, WP Fastest Cache, WP Super Cache and W3 Total Cache are great cache plugins. Choose one and then see how it works on your website. See which one's better for you. Then you want to optimize your database. Databases can get full of unneeded, information like transients, like post revisions, common spam, trash that, from posts that you are not using anymore on your site. So you want to clean those out. The best way to do that is with either WP Optimize or WP Sweep. They're both very good plugins, very user-friendly, easy to use, and they're very popular. Actively maintained, which is important, and they do their job well. Now, if you want to go a step further, you're going to start wanting to minimize your JavaScript files, your CSS files, your HTML files, and start concatenating some of the files as well. So these plugins that I'm going to introduce you to now, you want to definitely test them out on your local server first, because for some reason with some websites, depending on the plugins you use, sometimes it can cause some issues, some unforeseen issues on your site. So definitely test them out locally first. But auto optimize is a very good option. And then scripts to footer is another one that's very good as well. It puts the JavaScript files into the footer of your website. Async JavaScript also helps out, by putting in, it eliminates the render blocking JavaScript in the above the fold content. So that's very important. And then there's WP Super Minify, which also combines and compresses HTML, JavaScript, CSS to improve page load speed. So definitely check these out locally on your local server first. And if they work there, then definitely use them on your website. It'll definitely help out in terms of the speed of your site. Reason why is because when you have multiple files being requested, like JavaScript files, CSS files, etc., each one of those is called an HTTP request, and that takes time within a browser, because browsers typically can handle like 10 requests at a time. Anything above that gets put into like a waiting list until there's bandwidth space to start retrieving the rest of the assets. So these plugins help by combining, minifying, and reducing the amount of files that you have to request. Another great plugin is WP Performance Score Booster. This one's really good because it enables GZIP compression. So you definitely want to check it out, because this will help speed up your website. It compresses the text, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, XML, and even more. And it also leverages the browser cache, which is very important. So speaking of that, leveraging browser cache, I have a snippet of code here that you could use if you're familiar with coding, know how to access your core files on the root of your domain on your server, and you're comfortable with HT access. If you answered yes to the above questions, then you can use this code here. This code pretty much just leverages browser cache, so that way if a person frequents your website, they'll be served a cached version of these various assets. So very good snippet of code to use. Another snippet of code to check out is this one. This prevents hot linking to your site. Hot linking is when someone directly links to an asset on your site, like a picture or maybe a CSS file, etc. This will mean that if a person is requesting that asset at the same time that somebody else is requesting it, that's a legitimate visitor of your website, it'll slow down your site. So you put in this snippet of code and it prevents hot linking of your assets on your website. And then if you want to check GZIP compression to see if it's enabled on your server, you can do so by using a website like this. Check gzipcompression.com. Web address here, and then it'll determine whether or not it is enabled or not. But then again, this plugin, if we're going to install it, it already enables it. Once done with that, you can start looking at some CDNs. CDNs are content delivery networks. Pretty much what that means is if I'm based out of California and somebody's based out of India and they are looking to visit my website, there's something called latency, the time that it takes for that initial request from the person in India, to the time it takes for that request to get to the server in California and back. So that could just be maybe a couple of seconds, but now we want our websites to load under 2 seconds, ideally under 1. So a CDN, it takes your assets, your pages, your files, your stuff like that, delivers them through a network of servers all throughout the world. So when a user from India visits your website, they're going to get served your website from a server that's closer to them. So the latency is minimized. So there are two good CDNs to use. One is Mac CDN, and the other one is Cloudflare's CDN. They're both very good options. This one has a free option to check out, so you can definitely try that out. And then Mac CDN starts off at $9 a month. Both are very good. So what else can you do? Well, you can choose your web host. If you start off like the vast majority of people, and this type of hosting is perfectly fine, for smaller websites that don't get that many visitors, like less than 100 or 1,000 visitors a day, and not that many concurrent visitors, meaning visitors coming at the same time, you could use shared hosting. This is the most affordable hosting. Now, the deal with shared hosting is that there could be like 1,000 websites on that same server. Now, 1,000 websites, all processing, browser requests, all processing, the assets that are being requested to be delivered. That can take, make your website slow. You can slow down the performance of your site because each and every single website may be having some connections being made at the same time. So if you don't want to have this type of situation, if you find that this is causing a page load time on your website, then you may want to level up to a VPS. This gives you more room to breathe. And basically what it means is you have a dedicated server that is partitioned for like 4 users. It depends on the web host, but let's just go with this example. So now if the server has 16 gigabytes of RAM, the resources are being allocated equally to each individual, and that way you're not impacted by this person having too many page requests or too much stuff happening on their site. You're like partitioned off in your own little section of the server. So that's great. But now if you really want full control of the server and you want full utilization of the resources, you can get a dedicated server. With a dedicated server, you don't have to worry about anything, anybody else, causing a problem for your website because they may be hogging up the bandwidth or taking up too much of the processing power. Everything's yours. You control the server. You have full control of all the resources. You can do pretty much whatever you want on it within the limits imposed by the web host. But this is more expensive. Shared hosting is a lot more affordable. You can get this for like $5 a month. Dedicated can be about like $60 to maybe $500 a month, depending on the type of server you want. So definitely choose one of those if you want something that's a little bit more robust. All right, so if you followed all the steps outlined in this video tutorial, you profile your website with these free tools, you optimize your images with this free tinyjpeg.com website. You can do it for JPEGs and PNGs, and then you install one of these or 2 of these plugins to optimize your images. You profile your plugins that are being used on your website, and then you cache with only one of these cache plugins. Don't use more than one. You definitely only want to use one, but this will definitely speed up your website. And then you want to optimize your database. And then if needed, choose a CDN. Who wouldn't use a CDN? If you are like a local real estate website and your audience is local, then you don't really need this because you're not going to be too concerned about the page load time from people coming from another country, since you're serving a local audience. So in that case, just use a server that's local to where you are. Otherwise, if you have a global audience, CDNs are great. And then use the snippets of code that I provided for you. This goes in your htaccess file. This helps you to leverage browser cache, and this one helps you to prevent hot linking of your assets. You follow all these steps, you will be very happy and your users will be happy, and your position in Google may increase because your page load speed is faster. And then it's just left off. You're good to go. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe because I'll be giving you some more tidbits of information on how to manage your WordPress powered website and how to market your site online. So definitely subscribe. If you have any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions, leave them down in the comment section below and I'll take a look at that. And definitely check out the upcoming videos. Take care.